you to hold on to the mic because we're going to begin the next question with you, and then followed by Janice and Tryphon. The Supreme Court of Canada ruled that it is unlikely that religious institutions, let me slow that down, that it is unlikely that religious institutions could be compelled to perform same-sex marriages, but that Bill C-38 does not guarantee it. Here's the question. Where do you stand on the issue on government legislation that affects religious institutions?
Well, what I actually believe is that the government should actually stay out of the bedrooms of people's society. What I actually believe is that, when it comes to abortion and same-sex marriage, the issues have already been decided, and I think that church and state should actually be separate from each other. And what I think we should actually do is focus on the priorities that really matter, which is the economy, taxes, and the essential programs that everyone counts on. So that's what I would actually do if I was the person that's running. But what I actually think that would actually be more important is to let the people decide where they actually stand on the issue. So I think that we should have like a free vote to make sure that people, or to actually find out where people actually stand on the issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Janice, please.
I've actually, one of my specialties in the union is religious leave and religious accommodation. I've gone all the way in court defending people's right to religious accommodation in the workplace. And defending their right to be accommodated based on where they came from and not how their religion is practiced in Canada. There's all kinds of nuances here. I'm also a strong defender of all human rights, including the right to be married if you are gay or lesbian. And we let atheists get married. We let those people in Hollywood get married. We have to let gay and lesbian people be married. However, I don't think we can roll over the rights of one group to protect the rights of the other. And I would not be in favor of forcing someone against their religion to perform a marriage rite where that's just absolutely not under their religious beliefs.
Thank you. Okay, Tryphon, and then Paul.
I personally believe in the sanctity of marriage in the traditional sense. I will do everything I can to uphold that belief and to ensure that I speak for our community. And in regards to government getting involved in the affairs of the church, I believe that they ought to be separate and not be forcing anyone to do anything when it goes against their religion or anything to that nature.
Thank you. Paul.
We of course, would protect the rights of religious communities to deny performing same-sex marriages. We've gone a step further. We've seen around the world Christians in other parts of the world being persecuted. In Pakistan, we see Christians being persecuted and being threatened with life. Around the world, this is happening more and more often. That's why during the election we've said that we will open up what is called the Office of Religious Freedoms, and we will do our best as a nation not only to protect religious freedoms here in Canada, but also to promote that and protect that around the world, because it is absolutely unacceptable that Christians around the world should be faced with persecution, and that's one of the responsibilities. We signed a right to protect legislation here in this country, and it has to extend to religious communities around the world, not just here at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Religious rights are very close to most of us. I was the founding president of the church, Macedonian Church on Ridges-Markham, when we first started to build it. And when we got into the debate of the same-sex issues, I was in favor of it, and many people in my own church were against it. It's very difficult. It's a personal issue, and what I dealt with many communities. I went and spoke to everybody. You will not find me going around parading in this fashion or that fashion, but you will find me in defending every human right and religious right in Canada.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Tryphon, will have you begin, and then Paul, and then Louis. This is the question. how would you influence your party to develop policies / funding supportive of consistent, quality, and affordable housing for poor and seniors in Canada?
Well, first and foremost, I believe that we need to work together with the community, and the Green Party believes in grassroots democracy. The community has the answers. We as candidates don't have all the answers. We need to look to you to see what suits your concerns, what it is that you're interested in, and the solutions have to come from the community. As your candidate, I will do everything I can using my communication skills to listen to the ideas that the community has, and to ensure that our party hears those concerns and those solutions clearly.
Thank you. Paul, please.
Well, this issue, of course, is one that crosses boundaries. It's both a federal responsibility, it's a provincial responsibility. In many instances, our municipal partners come on board with us. And then we often go into the community and ask for their help. When I referenced earlier Tony Wong Place, that was an initiative of three levels of governments, plus the community, faith-based community, which helped bring that project along. Through our economic action plan, of course, we invested in social housing across the country. What we have a process in the Conservative Party where we have what's called caucus committees, so where 10 members of Parliament sit down with the minister, and we're able to influence every single piece of legislation before it actually makes it to the House of Commons, before it actually makes it to our caucus room. We vote on it as 10 members, we push our agenda, we push the agenda of our community, and then of course we vote on it together in caucus, and that's the agenda that we follow through. But on this instance, what we have to do is work with our provincial partners, and that's why we've increased transfers to the provinces by $33 billion since we've been in office, because we need them to be partners in this.
Thank you very much. Louis, your reply to this?
As Member of Parliament from 204 to 208, I worked with the Canadian Association for Affordable Housing. I met with them in my office in Ottawa. I met with them in my office in Markham, constituency office, with the local housing authority. There's a housing co-op program, co-op house on McCowan and 16, which is just around the corner from where I live. I met with them. I heard their concerns. We discussed the issues, and we moved the issue up. What I said earlier was we need to work and make sure that nobody in Canada is left outside without affordable housing, because the prices in the 905 area, the area that we represent, have gone through the roofs, and I'm really concerned about our kids, where they will be able to live and how they could afford the house next door to where you live, without our help, of course, as we as parents.
Thank you. And John, over to you, and then Janice.
Well, one of the things that I actually do if I was actually elected as your member of Parliament is to actually make sure I actually pressure the government that they actually important, actually to have programs for like affordable housing and poverty. One of the things we have to actually do is make sure that the federal government actually gives the provinces the exact money they actually need. So what you actually need is somebody at the table who actually can help negotiate with everybody to actually make sure that the money actually reaches their destination. So, and one of the reasons why I actually got in this race was because I actually wanted to listen to every one of the community and Canada to actually ensure that we actually have the programs that are there to actually help the poor and the disadvantaged, because that's what our party actually believes in. And to tell you the truth, when I was actually the youth member for the PC party, they actually listened to what I had to say, and we actually need a political party that actually listens to people. And one of the things we can actually do is to make sure that we have people in Canada who are actually taken seriously from all different
Thank you, John.
backgrounds.
Our time is up on that, and Janice will have your response, please.
I think one of the weaknesses of social housing and one of the weaknesses of housing in York Region is that it's not mixed enough. you need to have communities where there are rich and poor and middle class and young families and single people and seniors all living together. I spend a lot of time in the ghetto at Jane and Finch because I worked there, and my husband and I lived there when we were first married. And it's darker there than across the street. You don't have enough laneways going in. You just sort of force all these people together. It's not hard to understand why the young people are driven towards crime and gangs and this kind of behavior. You really need people looking out for each other. We need to build communities, not houses. And I think when a faith-based group or another association is involved in a cooperative home or an apartment building, I actually agree with Paul on this issue a little bit. It's helps sustain it and helps it grow in a way that is healthy for the community and not against purposes.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've got time for about another 3 questions. Next one, Louis, and then John, and then Paul. Here's the question. We appear to have an activist Supreme Court making laws rather than interpreting. Does that concern you? Louis?
Yes, it does concern me, but the role of the Supreme Court is to interpret the law, it's not to make the law. They often come back to the Parliament and they, how should I say this? They're putting the blame back to Parliament, which is fine. I mean, the role of the Parliament is to come up with legislation, and the role of the courts is to interpret it, and especially the Supreme Court. They have to interpret that law for you and I on a regular basis, and from time to time they don't have an opinion because it's not in their mandate to rule. It is in their mandate to interpret the law, and sometimes they're forced by government to rule as opposed to interpret.
Thank you, John. Please.
What I actually think we shouldn't go, what we actually shouldn't do is go down to the United States where we actually appoint, Supreme Court judges, and they actually dictate the policy of which political parties are power. I actually think we should actually do is take a balanced approach to the causes of crime and how to actually prevent it. What I actually think we should actually do is make sure the programs are there so that the youth actually stay out of trouble. And we also have to do is make sure there's rehabilitation programs to actually make sure that the criminals not reoffend, but actually make sure they actually get a deal and actually make sure that they actually don't reoffend. And what we also need to do is also give the youth who are actually on the edge, who actually could actually join like a microcrime. We actually have to make sure that they stay out of trouble by having the educational programs there so that they can actually go on and succeed in life. So that's what I think we should actually do. So I actually think that the best way to do that is to have programs there to actually prevent crime.
All right, thank you. Time is up. Paul, over to you, please.
I'd be less honest if I didn't say that I was sometimes frustrated as a parliamentarian about some of the decisions that the Supreme Court has made. But ultimately, as parliamentarians, we have the tools and the resources and the ability to make the decisions. We just have to exercise that power as members of Parliament, and not always blame the Supreme Court. We have extraordinary justices on the Supreme Court. We have one of the best processes for actually finding and appointing people to the bench. I think the greater threat to the independence of our Supreme Court is a bill that was before the House that had passed the House of Commons, was in the Senate, that would require Supreme Court justices to be fully bilingual if they were to be appointed. The threat of that would mean that there would be far fewer justices east or west of Ontario appointed, and that was a really, really big threat. Disappointed that it passed unanimously through the other 3 opposition parties. That's the bigger threat to the Supreme Court. But as parliamentarians, we need to exercise the rules and the roles that you've elected us to do, and we can do that. We just have to have the courage to do it.
Thank you. Janice, over to you, please.
I'm not concerned about the activism of the Supreme Court. I think the law has to be human. You can't just be letter of the law all the time. However, I'm concerned about some of the decisions from the Supreme Court that seem to be taking society too far right, and everybody's telling me they're going too far left. I think it often depends on what side you're on a particular issue. In my experience going to court many times to help co-workers with terminations or fighting for disability rights, the court is extremely fair, and it often points us to where our policies and our procedures are not fair, so that we can examine more closely. When we have really dictatorial style of governments in the United States or Canada, it seems the Supreme Court is our only hope, you know, sometimes in getting really unjust laws tempered with some humanity. So I haven't found the Supreme Court to be anything but a separate and very strong part of our democracy.
Thank you. And Triffin, please.
Well, I believe the system that we have in place today works well, but we can do a lot better. And that has to do with maybe educating our Supreme Court, the people that are in charge of the Supreme Court, the judges. They need to know their role a little better, because as it seems today, they're more like dictating the rules to Canadians, as opposed to listening to what Canadians wish for. They do need to go through a process of educating what it is they're there to do and who it is they're there to represent.
Thank you. Okay, for the next question, we'll begin with Janice, and then Paul, and then Triffin. Here is the question. How will you work to engage and motivate your constituents to be active, informed participants in national policy formation? Janice.
This is a question dear to my heart. You know, when I became local union president, we had a very disaffected union. Nobody was involved. They were more afraid of the union reps than they were the management. That wasn't effective. And I set out, and I'll do the same thing here. You need to inform people first. You need to tell them about all sides of the issue instead of talking down to them, but polarizing and making issues simplified, you know, so us idiots can understand it, I guess, you know. But, you know, that kind of this or that polarized choice making is not effective in getting people involved. You need to listen to people, and you need to have a lot of small groups, you know, where things can be discussed and consensus can be built on small issues. You know, having large town hall meetings where everybody postures is not as effective as, say, a room where there's 40 small tables where people are given a task and getting really involved in solving our problems.
Thank you. Paul, please.
Well, I guess sometimes some people accuse me of communicating probably too often in writing. I've had a standard policy that every 2 weeks I like to send something into your mailbox, whether you like it or not, so that you know what's going on, what I'm doing in Ottawa, and that stimulates discussion back and forth. On average, we get about 3,000 to 4,000 responses from every one of those pieces of mail that we send. Sometimes people are very angry, sometimes they're supportive. But we get a lot of information back from that. We use email blasts. We use Twitter. We use Facebook. I have two offices, one in King and one in Markham, so that people can have local access to their member of Parliament. And we do a lot of community events. You know, when we did the Christmas in Stouffville, we involved all of the schools in that. We have a hockey night in Stouffville coming up soon, which is in support of our local hospital, which will involve the community in things, so that they can engage in the community, they can engage in politics in a different way. And it's all been, it's been quite effective, but I guess we'll see the results depending on how many people come out and vote, because ultimately we need you to come out and vote for us.
All right, thank you. Triffin, your reply, please.
I've been a journalist for over 20 years now, or close to, and one of the things I've learned as a journalist is to engage the community and to listen. First and foremost, that's how people get one's attention, is by listening. If you decide to elect me as your MP, the first thing I will do is ask you to be my partners, and not just simply members of our community. What we need to do is work together, come up with viable solutions, have firesides if we need to in the summertime, have meetings. And one thing you will not get from me is email blasts or every 2 weeks letters dictating to you what's going to happen. What I need to know is what you're concerned about, and that's the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. And John, and then...
Well, I actually thank the person for the question. Well, one of the reasons why I actually joined, in this, in the election was to actually get young people to actually come and vote. I'm like a person who's honest, open-minded. I'm like a hard worker, and since I'm a student and I have no personal agenda, I actually would be a person who would be independent to everyone on the right. We need to do is that have more independence when it comes to politics. We need somebody who will actually listen to everyone, like who resides here. Doesn't matter if you're left, right, center, or anything. But what we actually have to do is make sure that all voices are heard. And we have to speak about the issues that matter to people. One of the reasons why I joined is to actually help get youth mobilized in this election. And the best thing to do is actually speak about the issues that matter to them. But there are also people who are actually on the fence and actually might not vote because they actually feel all politicians are the same. And actually we need to stop the bickering that goes on in Ottawa. And we actually need to elect somebody who's positive and will actually fight to help people. Thank you.
Thank you. And Louis, please.
Constituents want to know what the Member of Parliament is doing. They don't want to get pieces of mail that ask them whether they like white or black every 2 weeks. We do answer more than 5 questions. We don't limit to 5 questions. We don't ask you if you have a picture with somebody on Facebook or not. We invite you into our office. My office was open all the time, open up to everyone. We engage people. When I send out information, it was to tell you what I did, not what I want you to know. But just what I did that week, what was discussed in one committee, what was discussed in another committee that I participated in. Not something that my party told me to do. So that's engaging the people of Ridges-Markham to serve them better, to listen to them, to discuss issues, and to make some decisions together. And stand up for them in the House.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, we're not going to get through all the questions. This will be the last one, and Louis will begin with you in responses, and then Janice, and then Paul. I have a question for all the candidates. My understanding is that all of the parties, except the Conservatives, are planning to increase corporate taxes and implement some form of carbon tax scheme on Canadian businesses. Like many Canadians, my husband and I have worked hard all our lives to save for retirement through our RSPs, which will become our major source of income when we retire in a few years. We're very concerned that these policies will seriously reduce our retirement income by reducing share prices, dividends, and even driving manufacturing jobs out of Canada, all of which will reduce the value of the Canadian mutual funds we are invested in. The question is, what will your party do to ensure this does not happen? Louis, please.
Number one, what we want to do is roll back the corporate tax cuts. That will save us $6.9 or so billion and invest them into the priorities that Canadians want. Family concern priorities, not planes, not prisons. The myth is that the Conservatives are telling us that big corporations create the economic stimulus in Canada. That's not the case. The economic engine of Canada is small to medium-sized businesses, and that's why we're going to invest in small and medium-sized businesses. We will give them incentives to hire newly graduated students out of college and university to get their first start, rather than having them educated and then sitting at home or serving coffee at Tim Hortons. Not that I don't enjoy Tim Hortons.
Okay, thank you. Janice, please.
Reducing corporate taxes doesn't necessarily mean higher investment value. For example, if it's an American company and they have a lower tax rate in Canada, which they already do, than the United States, then they have to pay more taxes in the United States. That's the way it works. So our corporate tax cut just went to funding education and hospitals in the United States, and our investors aren't any the richer for it. I want to talk about tax the cap and trade, but I know I'm not going to have enough time. But you know, you really got to look at this. This is what the globe, all the experts, the scientific and economic experts have said is a fair system. We have to put a tax on carbon because we can't keep treating it like a renewable resource that's fully available forever. And we have to look at allowing companies that spend that use way too much carbon to subsidize healthy and productive development for countries that don't. But hopefully I'll use my last 2 minutes to fix that.
Okay, thank you. Paul, please, your reply.
Well, look, you don't create jobs and you don't create prosperity by taxing people to death. We don't do it for families, we don't do it for individuals, and we're not going to do it for the people who actually create jobs in the economy. Of course, we're supporting our small businesses. That's why we brought in paper, 20% paper burden reduction. We brought in a red tape commission. We've had a $1,000 tax credit for small business employment creation in the budget. But we've also said that Canada is a small nation. We're a small nation that we have to compete globally by reducing our corporate taxes. And don't forget, once we reduce our corporate taxes, there's still a provincial tax that goes on top of that, which puts us in the middle of the pack when you add the two taxes together. Canada needs to compete, and we need to compete with everybody around the world. The reason why we're so successful as a nation right now is because we can compete, because our manufacturers have the ability to compete based on productivity and not just on a low dollar. So we're going to continue to cut taxes for the people who create jobs. We're going to allow you to invest in tax-free savings account. We're going to continue to allow income splitting for seniors. We're going to give you every advantage that you need so that you can prosper and live a happy and safe retirement.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And John, please.
Right, I'd like to thank the person for the question, but to tell you the truth, the person may not know what our party actually stands on, like corporate taxes. Our party actually supports low corporate taxes, low income taxes, and low small business taxes. What our party wants to do is basically leave the corporate tax rate and personal income tax rates the same, but invest in actually lower small business taxes right now, because we actually believe small businesses, 80% of small businesses actually create jobs. I actually believe that they're the engine of the economy. When it comes to the environment, I actually think we should actually be doing it right now is actually investing in green technology. Our country has actually invested the least when it comes to green technology in the entire G8 and in fact in all Western countries. I actually think we should do is go down the road of Germany and Sweden, actually make sure that we make our economy more competitive and actually ensure that we actually go and create a green economy. But to tell you the truth, the Conservatives have no plan when it comes to the environment. They have a poor environmental record in this area.
Okay, thank you. Triffin.
First of all, I beg to differ with Mr. Calandra. Last time I looked at my tax bill, it was actually more. Especially, I have 2 young children, a 3-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. 1.5-year-old daughter, she's almost 2. But I have to pay more now because the Harper government wanted HST to encompass more things, especially with children's clothing and everything of the such. So I have to pay more as an individual because of the policies that the current government has. And many of you probably do as well. In regards to corporate tax cuts, we believe in bringing it to a level that's at par with the international community. 19% is a reasonable level. We're selling the farm right now. We're giving away the farm right now. And that's not the way to have a strong economy.
Okay, thank you. All right, very good. Well, we're going into our last section, about 10 minutes long, where we are going to give each candidate 2 minutes to basically say whatever they want. And we're going to go in alphabetical order as they're seated from your left to the right. So 2 minutes. Paul, with the Conservative Party, please begin.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity tonight, and also thank you for the opportunity that you've given me for the last 2.5 years to represent you in Ottawa. As I said earlier, it's not a moment that goes by that I'm not grateful for the opportunity that you've given me to serve you in Ottawa. And I can honestly say that if it was to end on Monday, I would always be grateful for the opportunity. I believe that Canada's best days are ahead. I'm extraordinarily proud of this country. I'm extraordinarily proud of our community. We've managed to come through a global economic downturn better than any other country in the world. We've done that by providing stable government, stable economy, even in a minority government. We saw what previous minority governments did, the Paul Martin government lurching from crisis to crisis to crisis, hurting Canada's image abroad. We brought in principled foreign policy. We've supported our friends around the world. We've restored pride and respect to our military, a military that can respond to international crises no matter where it is, no matter how severe. And we should be proud of that. We should be proud of this community, what we've actually accomplished in this community. But we do have to do more. We have to make sure that we do our best to protect our rural way of life here. We have to do our best to protect Class 1 farmland from being poached by people. We have to do more to protect our farmers so that they can farm using best farm practices. We have to respect our landowners in this community. We can't simply say to people that government has made a choice and we're not going to worry about you. But all the other parties here tonight have a pessimistic view of this country. I can't be any more proud of this country. I can't be any more prouder of this community. Every time I've asked this community for help, be it for the food bank, be it for raising funds for our hospital, this community has come through like no other community. So as opposed to talking down the accomplishments of Canada, as opposed to talking down our country, let's celebrate everything we've done that makes us different and makes us stand out in the international community. And again, thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for your support over the last 2.5 years.
Janice, please.
Pride comes before the fall. You know, I'm not interested in respect or pride. I'm interested in the 7th generation. You know, if God is our Father and we have messed up our room, I don't think He's going to buy us a new room, okay? You know, because that's not what fathers do. They say, go in there and clean up your room, okay? That's what's going on here. We need to clean up the room. The damage we're doing in Canada and our great style of living has been done on the backs of people around the world, and we need to start taking social responsibility for that. We will not have a good environment without social justice. There's a great book called Dead Heat that makes the science of climate change and the cap-and-trade system really good to understand. I hope you can have a chance to read it. But basically, we can't, as Harper says, wait until India and China start reducing their greenhouse emissions, or why should we reduce ours? They're not making any greenhouse emissions, but China has a lot of coal, and we don't have enough guns in the world to stop them from burning it. We have to cooperate with these countries that we've been exploiting for hundreds of years. We have to help them get a lifestyle that's more akin to ours through sustainable development and innovation, and not expect them to stay where they are without meat and without transportation and without, you know, the things we take, clean drinking water, while we decide whether we want maybe to reduce our cars from 4 to 3 in our driveway. You know, we really need a system that's going to set interim real targets for cleaning up the planet and reducing greenhouse gases, or we're not going to have a 7th generation. And that's really serious. We want our grandchildren to look at us and say how courageous we were in making the changes, just like my parents were in the Depression. The things they did to build for the future are the things being asked of us now, and we have to be there.
Thank you.
There comes a time where all the gold in the world loses its luster, and all the diamonds and jewels lose their glitter. And the only thing that really matters is the health and well-being of our family and our communities. This is something that I bring to the table as your candidate. I will ensure that your concerns are dealt with and are represented in our House. We need a communicator, someone that will listen to us, someone that is trained to listen, and somebody that will respect the will of our community. The Green Party of Canada allows me the privilege of working for our community first and foremost. Working, yes, with the Green Party, but working for the community. We have a unique opportunity on May the 2nd to elect the very first Green MP in the history of Canada. By doing so, we will show that we are leaders and not followers in this wonderful community we call home. This is the home of the Oak Ridges-Markham people. And if we don't elect the very first Green MP, I don't know who will. Well, maybe in BC they might, but with Elizabeth May, because she's in the lead right now as it stands. And I wish her all the best. But I wish our community all the best. And I'm here standing up for our community, for each and every one of you, because our children depend on it. We all depend on it. And I'm here to do the best that I can for you. So on May the 2nd, please consider voting for me, and I will do everything within my power to ensure that your opinions and your voice is heard in Ottawa.
Thank you, John.
Well, first off, I'd like to actually thank everybody for coming to the debate, and I actually hope that everybody actually will go out to actually vote on May 2nd, because that's what we're actually fighting for, to actually make sure that we actually live in a free country. And what I actually want to make sure that we actually do is take the lessons that is actually going on, like in the Middle East and North Africa. I actually think that we should be following the youth there, because they're actually concerned more about their democracy than we are. I actually think we should be going down the road that they are and actually go out and vote. In terms of our democracy, the reason why people are coming out of the vote is because they don't have somebody who's actually listening to them. I want to be that person who actually listens to all the people in this community. And I mean, regardless of ideology, we need somebody who actually will care about what people think. We need somebody who's open, honest, and is positive, and will actually, who has no personal agenda. It seems like all the parties now, they just care about bickering. We need to have somebody, and we need to actually go past these two major parties and elect somebody who's actually will actually care about what Canadians think. We need to elect a party that's middle of the road, will actually make sure that we actually stay united as a country, and make sure all the issues that everyone cares about are dealt with. So what we need to do is actually make sure that we actually take action on the environment, healthcare, education. Those issues weren't really discussed that much tonight. I actually think we need to care about the programs that we all depend on. So what I actually want to do is make sure that the government of the day, whenever they're discussing about other issues, we need to talk about the issues that matter. They care about issues of pride, but what's more important than healthcare and education for everybody, an opportunity for everybody to actually live in a society that's free and make sure that we all depend on the services that matter to us. So that's the road we have to go down, the road to make sure that everybody is listened to and make sure that everyone has a chance to succeed in life. So that's what I would do for this community. Thank you.
On Monday, we will have the opportunity, you will have the opportunity to cast your ballot. You can cast your ballot for early childhood learning. You can cast your ballot for education funding. You can cast your ballot for elder care. You can cast your ballot for pension reform, publicly funded pensions. You can cast your ballot for home renovation tax, or you can cast your ballot on the other side, for planes, for prisons, for contempt of parliament, for prorogation, for loss of security seat in United Nations, for fossil award, for only allowing 5 questions, and for democracy. But what is important is that you cast a ballot on Monday. So I urge you to come out on Monday and vote your heart, and then we'll see what happens. Thank you very much. I hope you give me an opportunity to serve you once again. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Now, my understanding it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, candidates, but they're going to rush away necessarily to get that extra sleep before the royal wedding in the morning. I will be lingering around to interact more personally with you. That's possible. And I believe they all have brought some literature and other things which are available on the tables to the back. We promised 9:45. We're just about there, but I would be remiss if we didn't conclude with a few thanks. First of all, thank you to the 5 of you. We understand that the We understand that even the pursuit of public life involves putting your life in public. It's not an easy task. So, win or lose, come May 2nd, you have played a critical role in the democratic traditions and institutions that we very much cherish. So thank you all for being here rather than there. Thanks also to the Ministerial Association of Richard Stover that sponsored the event, to the organizing committee consisting of Arnold Dufeld-Fass, Alan Reeser McDowell, Winston Miller, and Renee DeVries. Our thanks as well to Parkview Village, this facility here, to Jean Wing, the program director for Parkview, and the help she's done in the planning, to Stouffville Connects for the live streaming, to Whistle Radio for the podcast, and to you for being here, for being part, again, of the democratic process that is valued by us. And all we have to do is follow headlines in the news today to know that there are other parts of the world that crave what we have. And so we need to be appreciative of what we have. So thank you for being here. So that's it. Take advantage of the opportunity to chat further with the candidates, and come Monday, please vote. Whatever you wish, please vote.